A last part of the book, we talk about how in the early 1700s, the British have abandoned a lot of young boys in Madras, and there is a Madras male asylum, which was it was in Egmont. It was a fortification for the British. They had fought the French, and they took this building up, and they called it the Madras Male Asylum. And they housed all these destitute boys in this asylum. The British soldiers, their fathers had left, abandoning the mothers and the children. The teenagers were very unruly, wild, not into education. And the British felt that, okay, it's their children after all, and they had to do something. So they hired this priest, this Anglican priest called Andrew Bell, who was a tutor. And he had his little stints in America, the colonial Virginia. He had gone to tutor some private families, rich families, and he came back to Scotland. So the British said, okay, you go to India and take care of this Madras male asylum and do something and teach these kids something, teach them the Bible, do something so that at least their character is built. So Andrew Bell comes to Egmont in Madras, in the mid 1700s. And then he starts looking at this asylum. He has a few assistants. The children are unruly. They can't study anything. They don't have attention. They're badly behaved, badly spoken, and they're not taking into the Bible study too well. And he's extremely puzzled. He wants to do something. So he takes his walks every day on the beach, and then he stumbles on a Malabar school. So he sees a lot of these Tinnai schools, outside the veranda there are people teaching children. And so once he stumbles on a Malabar school, and he just starts observing, and he sees how children are writing on sand, alphabets on the sand, and then there are other bigger children teaching these little children how to write on the sand, and they'll erase and rewrite, and it's such a calm environment, and there are 15-20 kids, and there's just one teacher who's hardly paying attention, but all the children are teaching one another and are behaving, and he starts observing it. So he rushes back home and he says, Eureka, I think I've found it. So he comes up with this very detailed study. He spends 10 years in Madras, and he studies this entire system of Indian education. He sees one village schoolmaster with 200 children, and all of them are educated. In fact, in 1700s, the German missionaries who come and who say that, wow, India is the only one which has over 90% literacy, whereas Europe is struggling. Only the very rich and the very elite could afford education. So he studies this whole thing for 10 years, and the long and short of it was he discovers that the system of Indian education is that you had one teacher, and then you had monitors or other students who would learn and then who would teach. So who would learn from the guru and then would teach the children who do not know, and then that system would go on. Each one would. So every student had the opportunity to learn and teach, and the learning also was very easy for them because they learned from a peer, and teaching reinforced these ideas. And the guru's job was essentially to make sure, make spot quizzes and make sure everybody is, going at their own pace, but improving and developing their academic skills. So this is like it's just casual thing, if you go to any Gurukulam, of course, what's the big deal? There's no rocket science. But Bell writes that this is the steam engine of education. He says this discovery is, so he calls it, of course, the Madras monitorial system, and gives no credit to the Malabar schools or the Indian pedagogy of education. And he says this is bigger than the steam engine, because now we could really educate everybody, the masses of Europe. Yeah. And of course, the story goes on where there's another guy, Joseph Lancaster, who steals Bell's idea. And Bell and Lancaster, this is the second digestion. He steals it from Bell and he doesn't give him credit. So to establish something, Lancaster goes to America. Because that's the new world, and he establishes the Lancaster School of Education there with the same monitorial system. The whole of New York is educated just like that within a few years, and the whole of America begins to get educated. So content of Indian knowledge system has just not attributed to the Enlightenment, but even our pedagogies and our methods of education. Yeah? So that is the richness of our tradition. Bell's been honored with a monument in Westminster Abbey. This is where Bell and his Madras monitorial system. So that's how big this system was. Now, we do have, I know we have many people, many villagers, we have millions of people who want to get educated, who are aspirational, and we could use these systems, revive these systems. And we also talk about a particular Gurukulam in Chhattisgarh, where I sent my own boys to spend a year, and they spend more than that also, their vacations there. Run by this octogenarian, she's an 83-year-old scholar, Pushpa Dikshit Mataji is her name. It's a Gurukulam for Vyakaranam in Sanskrit. So only Vyakaranam is taught. It's both sexes are there. They teach both male and female students from all over, starting from the age of 5. There are kids from Vrindavan, and there are professors who come from China, Heidelberg, and the US to learn from Mataji. So it's a mixed age group, and you will see this so-called Madras monitorial system in action over there. Right? Because you have one 82-year-old teaching 50 people from various backgrounds. And they study, traditionally the Siddhanta Kaumudi would take 10 years to study, to get some kind of a grasp of Siddhanta Kaumudi. With Mataji's methods, you can study Panini within a year and have a fairly decent grasp of Vyakaranam. So these are there still, and people don't know about it. These are the hidden gems in India today, not in mainstream urban areas, but you do find many Gurukulams. We can still revive this kind of education, and hopefully, we can bring back Indic knowledge systems and be the producers of knowledge, as opposed to always being recipients of some second-hand Western pedagogy and model. Thank you.